everyone. When talking about the Shadowlands, the topic of what are they going to do with Sylvanas, it often comes up. Is she going to be the end boss? Is she going to be another Gul'dan? Will she be redeemed? Or is there even a need for her to be redeemed? I figured it could be fun to sit back and speculate a little bit, see what we know at the moment. But to do that properly, let's very shortly talk about Sylvanas' life and undead life. She died defending Quel'Thalas as Ranger General to her people, the High Elves. Arthas was the one who killed her, but she had been such a pain in his ass that a peaceful afterlife, it was not going to be for her. Ripped from eternal bliss, he brought her back as a banshee, forced to obey his commands. Events played out, she managed to regain control, even regained her body, and came very close to getting her vengeance, was it not for Kel'Thuzad. From that point on, her motivation was to get back at Arthas. Others slain and resting on death, they found their way to the Banshee Queen. The Forsaken, they joined the Horde, an alliance of convenience, mainly to get what they desired. Revenge upon Arthas, and no line was too far to cross to get it. Experimentation, development of a plague that wiped out both the living and the undead. Just take a stroll across the Undercity, and you'll get a glimpse of what the Forsaken had been up to. Ultimately, it seemed to be worth it though, as the Lich King he was slain, and Sylvanas got what she desired.
I see only darkness before me.
The story they'd given the Banshee Queen and the Forsaken. At that point, it's been pretty much fulfilled, so Blizzard, they needed to give her a new motivation, a reason for this faction to keep on going. With her mission complete and with a new Lich King on the throne, Sylvanas decided to end this eternal torment by throwing herself from the top of Icecrown right onto the Serenite spikes down below. Instead of the bliss that she had felt when slain by Arthas, this time it was hell that was waiting for her. It's uncertain if her actions while leading the Forsaken, if those actions are what caused her to be sent to the Maw, to this hell by the Arbiter, or if the jailer himself influenced this, dragged her spirits from where she was supposed to go into his domain. That's not mentioned in the short story. Considering that they've come up with the jailer much later on, all we find out is that it was the Valkyr, those bound to the service of the Lich King, that they're the ones that made sure that she wouldn't remain here, that she wouldn't remain in the Maw. Their deal was to set her free, take her place here, even allow her to resurrect more Forsaken, and in return, they would be free from Bolvar's control. Many have wondered if the Valkyr had had another reason for aiding her. That might still be a thing, might have been in order of the jailer. Regardless, Sylvanas came back to Azeroth with a brand new motivation. She was going to do whatever it took to stay out of hell. Her Forsaken were no longer considered her arrows in a quiver, to be used and shot at the targets that she had in mind. Instead, they would become her bulwark against the infinite, and no one was going to stop her from preventing the torment that she had felt. So when Garrosh was squandering her Forsaken at Gilneas, she took over, disobeying his direct orders to not use her blight and finish the campaign quickly. Her service to the Hordes and the orders of her war chief, they were usually met with token forces. Eyes on the prize after all. In Legion, she went about trying to acquire the power to create more Valkyr by entering a deal with Helya, trying to enslave a year.
Submit. The Valkyr are mine.
All of that was prevented by Greymane and the Alliance. Now the details of the deal with Helya, that might still play its part within the Shadowlands, but for Battle for Azeroth, we saw her sending many souls to the Maw, increasing her power with the jailer, her very own covenant, which gave her enough strength to one-shot Sourfang, to no longer need the might of the Horde, and even overtake Bolvar the Lich King. That's what she's been up to in a nutshell, going from a place of horrific tragedy to getting her revenge and then doing what it took to stay out of hell. Now knowing that she's been in touch with the jailer ever since her suicide, has been working with him, and souls have been shipped off to the Maw sometime in the Legion periods, the question of course becomes, why? What is her motivation? And a simple answer could be that her motivation hasn't changed at all. All she really cares about is simply staying out of hell. And by working together with the jailer, the one who rules the Maw, this is her guaranteed ticket to never be subjected to such torment again. It's a possibility, but in my opinion, it would be a massive shame if that was all there was to it. Imagine being a Forsaken player, severely loyal to the Banshee Queen, or just a fan of her character, and see her turned into a puppet of the jailer. You then confront her in a raid, you take her out, then you go after the big bad that she was so afraid of. Not exactly an exciting possibility, and I really hope that they got better things in mind. And that possibility, it definitely exists. The Shadowlands is a brand new territory to explore. Sure enough, we've heard bits and pieces about it. We've even sent in followers or traveled through it ourselves, but never before has the afterlife in Warcraft, the Shadowlands, been explored as it's going to be in this expansion. On top of that, the Maw is a realm of many mysteries. It's not a place where people usually escape from, so what's going on in there is not exactly common knowledge. Not even to those native to the Shadowlands. That's what makes us so special. That's what makes us the Maw Walkers. That is why these covenants are so keen on recruiting us, and we're going to find out more about the Maw. Currently, on the Shadowlands website, this is how they describe it. To be cast into the Maw is to be doomed to a bleak eternity. It is a tumultuous, hopeless land where the vilest souls in the cosmos are imprisoned forever. Should the ancient evil chained here break free, all of reality will be consumed. An ancient force of death threatened to break its bond and unravel reality. Now you must investigate a conspiracy to unmake the cosmos and help Warcraft legends journey back, or fulfill their ultimate destiny. Ancient evil is quite a broad term, and you could argue that it doesn't necessarily say that it's the jailer. To that, there was a quest in Revendreth that mentions the reason as to why they're sending over all that anima. The anima that they're stealing from the Shadowlands is weakening the bonds that seal the jailer within the Maw. So that definitely makes it look like he's our guy. I'm still holding out hope that there's more intrigue going on here. Not just that this ancient evil that cannot be unleashed, but a nuance as to who the jailer is. How did he get this position in the Maw? What rulebook does the Arbiter use to condemn a soul to be irredeemable? Is the Shadowlands the way that the afterlife is supposed to be, or is there more at play here? They've made mention of a pantheon of death, potential creators of the Shadowlands. All of that, it really has me hoping that the Shadowlands is not the way that death is supposed to be. That can relate to Sylvanas' motivation. We're all imprisoned in this endless cycle of life and death, right? We bring anima to the Shadowlands, which sustains this created realm, only to continue the cycle. Imagine that the Covenants and areas like Bastion and whatnot, that is not what the afterlife is supposed to be. That is actually the Arbiter that we should be afraid of. That in turn would make Sylvanas' motivation from simply staying out of hell to making sure that all our souls can just pass on beyond this glass ceiling, which is puppeteered by a pantheon of death. Move on to where they're actually supposed to go. The jailer wants to break free, but not to consume the universe, rather to be free himself from this awful job imposed upon him. That would be pure speculation though. It goes against what's currently on the Shadowlands website. That's it, the information from the website, it does not always make it into the game. I remember clearly how Sylvanas had the description for Legion, which said, "The Forsaken's ruthless leader is a formidable champion of her people. But with the Burning Legion's invasion, the stakes for the Dark Lady have never been higher. Should Sylvanas perish, her demise will be the beginning of her eternal damnation. All that stands between her and this doom are Valkyr, yet few of the Spirit Guardians remain. As her fate edges closer to the abyss, Sylvanas must decide how far she'll go to protect her people, and whether they're more precious to her than her soul." That story never played out in Legion, at least not as far as I know, with our Order Halls taking center stage in the war against the Burning Legion. So just because it's on the WoW website does not 100% mean that it's going to make it into the game. Time will tell, I suppose. But in short, this will be a motivation revolving around the afterlife, the Shadowlands not being what it's supposed to be. The jailer has clued her in on things being messed up, and she joined this covenant to break this cycle, to set us all free.
This world is a prison.
Then the third option, that would be in the direction of pulling an Illidan. Sylvanas, she kills herself, she meets the jailer, and she finds out that this terrible ancient evil, it wants to break free out of the Maw and would eventually consume reality. She was never meant to go to the Maw, but it's already unbalanced. He already has the power to drag in these souls, so her choices are either to stay here and be tormented for all eternity, or she could pretend to ally with him. Feed him souls that would have gone there anyways, feed him enough to gain power required to shatter the helmets, open up the rift between the Shadowlands and Azeroth, and then have heroes of the world come in, pretending to be allied to the jailer, until the time is just right and she can turn against him, use his own gifted powers to make sure that this evil does not consume reality, does not consume her Forsaken, the Horde, or her sisters, despite being cool and cold all the time. It is clear that for certain people, the Banshee Queen, she still feels emotions, as twisted as they sometimes might be. For example, in War Crimes, she schemed with her sister, who ultimately backed out and didn't go through with their plans. This betrayal, it hurt her deeply, something that they actually used in the Legion Windrunner comic. It's very possible that Vrisa asking for forgiveness, that is the one thing that prevented her from giving the order to kill her sisters right in that moment. She also agreed to a meeting between Forsaken and humans. If the Forsaken were merely a bulwark to her, a tool to be used, then why care enough to put herself at risk like that? She clearly does not want to inflict more suffering to her people. Varian's death at the Broken Shore, it was also not one that she intended to happen. At least, that's what she's told Anduin. He asked her if she had betrayed his father, and later she would question her choice in responding. But in this moment, she had no desire to offer falsehood. Varian's Rin's destiny was set in stone, little lion. The Legion's numbers would have seen to that, whatever choice I made that day. And the boy king believed her. Then there's Navanos, of course. The love that they shared in life, it has bridged the gap into undeath. There are more examples, but the point stands. She is not an emotionless zombie, and might have well have done all the things that she's done with the intention of a so-called greater good. Ultimately, it would not matter how we would die, be it at her hands, sent off to the Maw, or in a different way. Ultimately, we were going to face that suffering that she had felt anyways. So, she might as well do it herself and gain that power, open up a pathway to a potential salvation for all of us by taking out the jailer, sacrifice herself to take him down. That way, neither the Alliance or the Horde, or especially the Forsaken, they will not have to raise their arms against the Banshee Queen that they have followed for so many years, and yet her story would still come to an end. If you ask me about how to give her redemption, that would be a path that they could go on. On the surface, yes, she has done some terrible things, but actually, somewhat like Illidan, she did it with some of the best intentions. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a discussion to be had. They set out to make her even worse than Garrosh. She was going to make him look like an amateur, and they definitely succeeded. Not many characters in WoW can boast about a genocide of a race, but Sylvanas managed to pull that one off. I really wonder if they haven't taken her too far. Yeah, alright, so you've done all these things to actually fight against the jailer. I'm sure that all those crispy night elf men, women and children, all the other casualties along the way, they'll definitely appreciate your actions. Vengeance can never be a part of what we do, yet a resolution, it would be nice, and I feel like having her sacrifice herself, that would be a big old middle finger to the Night Elves and the Alliance. Yet, at the same time, having her as a raid boss, that would be a big old middle finger to the Forsaken and the Horde. So yeah, good luck Blizzard, I suppose. I'm really curious what they have in mind with her character. Of course, these are just a couple of possibilities. Let me pass on the question to you. If you were in charge of Sylvanas' destiny, where would you take the story next? What would her story be? By all means, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time. See ya.
You've won nothing.